Sorry, everyone. Here we go. I'm going to hand this to Juan. This one isn't working.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so I just wanted to say that I want those of you that are familiar with the performance practice of J.S. Bach music on piano to know that the use of dynamics, sustained pedal, and articulation that you are about to listen are intentional. Well, at least most of them. I made those choices as a form of spiritual practice based on the instrument I have in front and what makes sense to me today, as opposed to the conventional way of performing it.
Good morning, everybody. We gathered today, whoa, with a loud microphone. I'm going to start that over. We gathered today in the waning light of summer, amidst the hurry and worry of all that autumn inevitably brings. The work of harvest, the work of new school years, and this year, the anxieties of another unprecedented election season amidst the news of war and devastation. The cycle of the year turns, and we oftentimes feel as if we are crushed under time's wheel. And so we gather to remind ourselves that we are more than our work and worries, that there is more in the world than fear and confusion. We gather to pause, to invite stillness that carves space for attention and intention. We gather to invite reflections and connections that sustain and nurture us as we build community and promote justice. We gather to create welcome and belonging for the seekers who find their way to us looking for inspiration and peace, if only for this hour. We gather to invite our own souls to remember why we are here at all, and we are here, no matter what the cycle of the year brings, to become more holy, more fully the people we long to be, people who embody and center love. Come, whoever you are, whatever you bring with you, let us gather now in love. A flaming chalice has been a symbol of Unitarian Universalism for many decades, and we join our siblings in faith each Sunday by lighting our chalice here in this sanctuary. For those joining us online, I invite you to light a candle or chalice in your own space as we share these words by Reverend Angela Herrera. I've invited Jocelyn Karsk, the vice chair of our board, to light the chalice as I say these words. This is a poem from Reverend Herrera titled, "All That You Need Is Within You." Consider this an invitation to you. Yes, you. With all your happiness and your burdens, your hopes and regrets. An invitation if you feel good today, and an invitation if you do not. If you are aching, and there are so many ways to ache, maybe your heart is heavy or hardened. Maybe it's troubled, and peace can take up residence only in a small corner, only on the edge with all that is going on in the world and in your life. Ni modo. It doesn't matter. All that you need for a deep and comforting peace to grow lies within you. Once it is in your heart, let it spread into your life. Let it pour from your life into the world. And once it is in the world, let it shine upon all beings. Thank you, Jocelyn. And now I invite us all to rise in body or spirit for our opening song, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We will sing it through 3 times. Come, come, whoever you are. Good morning again, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are a church of many different ages, bodies, genders, histories, identities, and beliefs, and we are united in our commitment to our mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. I'm Reverend Beth Monholland. My pronouns are she, hers, and I have the deep honor of serving as the lead minister to this congregation alongside our associate minister, Reverend Sally Fritchie. I want to bid a special welcome to any guests who are joining us today. And if you're a visitor, I invite you to fill out one of our visitor cards so that we can stay connected. And whether you are joining us via our live stream this morning, here in the sanctuary, whether it's your 1000th service or your first half hour of one, know that you are welcome. And we invite you in to this space and trust that your heart will leave with what it needs. If you're feeling a bit too crowded in the sanctuary here this morning, you are welcome for any reason to go across the hall into the fellowship hall where the service is being live streamed. Folks are also welcome to join us in fellowship hall immediately after the service for coffee and conversation and kinship. And this is an all-ages service today. The second Sunday of each month this church year will be an all-ages services. So all of our little ones are invited to stay here for the entire service. But if if you are young or young at heart and find that you need to keep your hands and your body busy, you are welcome at any point to grab a coloring packet from the hallway just outside the sanctuary doors. And you're also welcome to stretch and move your body and attend to your needs. Because we're all ages here in this congregation, we invite the inevitable noises and distractions, please not destructions, but distractions that children and those of us who are at heart can bring to a service. It's one of the ways we provide radical welcome to each other, is to honor what our bodies need. And in that vein, we are also living in endemic times, and we have a spike in both COVID and other infections. Folks here are always welcome to wear a mask. And as a visual way to represent how we might want to interact with each other, there are color-coded lanyards in the entryway. Please be aware of folks who are wearing those. And if they're wearing yellow or red, it maybe means they would rather you wave at them than, try to hug them. Always ask before you hug anybody anyway, whether or not they're wearing a green lanyard. The ways in which we attend to each other's boundaries is one way we show care and build community. Our nursery is available for kids under 6, so while this is an all-ages service, as I've said twice now, it always bears repeating. And again, kids are welcome to stay. If you or your little one would prefer to be in the nursery and have some fun things to play and do, you are welcome to take them there. We have a new nursery worker who just started last week. Her name is Maria Alejandra, and she's also a musician, so she brought her guitar, and she plans to teach the little ones songs and lots of musical interaction as she works in the nursery this year. So the nursery might be a more fun place than we're having, is what I'm trying to tell you. But speaking of fun, every now and then I worry that I am not perceived as a serious person because I'm not a serious person. I resisted the call to ministry for many years because I was worried that I wasn't a solemn enough presence. I had an image of what a minister or a priest or a spiritual leader should be, and it never matched who I am. I see some of you laughing and nodding. It was through work, though, in my home congregation and engaging with a variety of spiritual practices that I really began to accept that who I am and how I interact in the world is just as valid as anybody else. And I offer that to you all this morning because today's service is about spiritual practices and spiritual play. It's an invitation for us to consider that and engage with it. I stress the word invitation because this month this year in church, we're going to be exploring worship via monthly themes. We're using our Soul Matters ministry as a jumping off point for that. And for the month of September, Soul Matters theme is invitation. Our message series I have titled Becoming Behavior, because I want us to think about and engage in the ways in which we are invited to engage actively in both spiritual practices, social practices, community practices that help us become who we want to be. In that time in my life when I was resisting ministry because I wasn't solemn enough, I also really thought that I needed to become my best self before I could become a minister. And I realized again through some of my spiritual practices that best is actually not what I want to be. I want to be my whole self. And my whole self and your whole self is one that has a body that moves you through this world. And maybe it moves you through slowly. Maybe it moves you through skippingly. Maybe it gives out on you sometimes. But this body that you have that moves you through the world is a gift. You also have your emotions, your heart, that are messages always to you about how your body is living and receiving in the world. We have our minds, and oh, my beloved, don't we really love our intellect? We live in our heads a lot. culturally as Unitarian Universalists, culturally as Americans. And sometimes we're living so much in our heads that we pretend we don't have a heart and we don't have a body, let alone a spirit that animates who we are. And the work of being whole, of seeking the wholeness that is our birthright, is integrating all of those. That our mind, our body, our heart, and our spirit aren't separate things, no matter how we may talk about them separately. They are all us. And engaging in practices, whatever your theology, whatever your beliefs, but engaging in practices that help you move into greater wholeness is a gift to yourself, and it is a gift to this world. How many of you in here have a spiritual practice that you engage in regularly? And I leave regularly very loosely defined by you, the user. If you have a spiritual practice, raise your hand. That's wonderful. Many hands are up in the air. Would anybody mind sharing, just aloud, what your spiritual practice is? Invitation only. This is an invitational space. Gail says she fasts every Yom Kippur. Thank you. Meditation. I'm seeing some nods. Go ahead, Mark. Margaret comes here, and I see this is true. I see her. Margaret comes here early every Sunday so she can have quiet contemplative time before service. Fasting, meditation, contemplation. Go ahead, David. Breathing. David said when he's plagued by sad or worrisome thoughts that he takes a breath. Beloveds, breath is where the word spirit comes from. Our breath of life connects us. And when we can move into the center of that breathing, in whatever ways we get there, we can calm down, lift up our joys, connect more deeply to that wholeness. I will share with you, I have 3 spiritual practices that I engage in regularly. Regularly being daily for me. I journal every day. Writing and words are really important. It's how I engage in the world. Partly why I became a minister. I really like words. But journaling, I walk, and this has not been daily enough, I will say. I walk my dog every day, and that can be a spiritual practice, dear ones, and sometimes it is. But I walk every day, and I do tarot. I started doing tarot probably 25 years ago, and I will talk more about that later. But those are mine. I have other ones that I engage in occasionally. Meditation. Focusing on my breath actually is also, I should add that to my daily things. We're breathing all the time and we don't pay attention to it. And attention is the key to a spiritual practice. You don't have to do it perfectly. It doesn't have to be something that is like, oh, that's something a monk or a priest or some holy person would do. It's the thing that helps you breathe and connect to your wholeness. And it becomes a spiritual practice when we can do it with attention and intention and then repetition. If the repetition is a yearly thing, like Gail's fasting for Yom Kippur, that is still the spiritual practice she engages in. It doesn't have to be, oh, I didn't do it every day, so now I'm a failure at spiritual practices and God will never forgive me. Or whatever your name for God might be, your own self. So I want us to think about spiritual practices today that are letting us be in our bodies, connecting, integrating who we are, and that people all over the world do. Breathing and meditating and focusing attention is one. People play music and they make art as spiritual practices. We read and write poetry. I have a friend who begins every day, for like 30 years, she has begun every day with an hour of reading poetry. And I'm like, that is some discipline that I admire. But whatever it is, what is the thing that helps you get out of your head, or rather pull your head deeply into your heart and your body? And one of those practices that I really love are labyrinths. have some. And Emmeline's going to help me this morning, right? Reese, do you want to come up? Reese is like, no. But labyrinths are ancient practices, and they're not the same as a maze. A labyrinth isn't about getting lost. A labyrinth is about moving your body with breath and attention into and out of the heart of a physical thing like a path, as a metaphor for moving into and out of the heart of spirit. And for some people, that is moving into and out of the mind of God, the divine, their own souls. Whatever it is for you, it's an invitation, as David pointed out, to breathe, to focus your attention and intention on a moment. And so, Emmeline, do you want to come on up now? Emmeline is my helper today. Oh, Reese is going to come too. Will you do me a favor? Emmeline and I are going to pass out some mazes, Lord in heaven, some labyrinths. Will you take that and hand it to these people so they can pass it around? Oh, Reese, do you want to help? Or do you want to hang out there for a minute? Come here. No, Reese is good where he is. I don't know if there's enough for everybody today, but these are finger labyrinths. And so what you can do is trace them. And we're passing. Oh yeah, Emmeline, you can just pass the whole packet and people can, and Emmeline, will you do me a favor and take those to the folks all the way in the back? All the way in the back, yeah, because there's paper going around. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I wasn't sure how many to make, and I was trying not to kill trees, although you can take them home with you, everybody. We have some cards as well. But Emmeline is going to model for us walking a labyrinth. And if there's, Reese went back. It's okay. Reese, no pressure. This is invitational, like I said. But if there's another kid, just one other person in the room, we have a labyrinth up on our chancel. And we're going to invite you to walk it and breathe deeply while you do it. And while they're physically walking the labyrinth, you are invited in your seats to trace that labyrinth with your finger. And if there's someone who wants to engage in this and doesn't have a labyrinth, I do have a few more smaller ones, but I see Sarah's helping me. You want to come up? So we're going to stand outside the entrance of our labyrinth. There's one entry into it. And we're going to invite both Reese and Emmeline to take a deep breath. Can you take a deep breath with me? Very good. And everybody in the room is going to be invited to take another deep breath. And another. And keep breathing deeply or just naturally, whatever your body needs in this moment. Think about what you are holding and carrying with you into this space. Think about your fears, your worries. Think about your joys that make you want to leap, that make you want to connect with others. All of those are part of you. They're part of your breath, your spirit. Focus your attention on this moment and begin your labyrinth if you want. Can you follow the path, Emmeline? And you can go slowly. Do you want to join her, Reese? We go slowly. Think about who we are and what our heart needs. We get to the center and we pause. And we get to the center and we feel everything of who we are. We get to the center and we dance with joy. Sometimes we dance with sorrow. I think Reese is dancing with joy today. The labyrinth, the center of us, doesn't always offer us an answer, but it is the questioning, the seeking, that is sometimes more important than any answer that other people, the divine, might offer to us. Are we open to moving along the path, even when it twists and turns? When you get to the center of your labyrinth this morning, what do you find there? What is waiting in the heart of you this morning? This morning, that you might want to hold on to, that you might want to let go of. If you're at the center of your labyrinth, I invite you to contemplate that as you continue to breathe. And when you are ready, slowly make your way from the center of the labyrinth back out to the end. I want to thank Emmeline for being brave and being willing to come up here with me today, and for being a good helper, and Reese as well. So thank you. Thank you to all of you for entering into the space. Hold on to your labyrinths throughout the service. Hold on to it as long as you want, actually. And if during the service, thank you, Emmeline, we'll walk this way, you need to continue to center yourself with that breathing, that moving in and out, you are more than welcome to do so. One of our spiritual practices here is making space for each other with our joys and sorrows. This morning, we're going to sing our blessing song, made a long time sung, but we're just going to do it seated. And we're going to continue the contemplation of what are you bringing with you? What joys are you bringing into this room? What concerns? How is honoring and knowing that in community a spiritual practice for you? How is singing together perhaps a spiritual practice? We will read Joys and Sorrows aloud later in the service, so if you have a joy and sorrow you'd like to be shared, please fill out a card. We'll collect those during the offering. If you are more comfortable with technology, you are also free to email your joy or concern to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Making space for each other is important because spiritual practices, like my daily solo walks, can be done alone. But spiritual practices are also done in community. This is one way, sharing our joys and sorrows, that we are practicing generosity, practicing love and care, deepening our spiritual connections to each other. Let us sing. I've already talked about connecting in community as a spiritual practice, and we actually have many opportunities to connect within and beyond our congregation. So I invite you, as a practical matter, but perhaps also as a spiritual practice, to read our e-news each week for all of the activities and events happening through our faith development and RE and social action councils. This morning, I do want to highlight just a few of those things. Starting with that REE does officially kick off next Sunday. Be sure to register your kids if you haven't already. And join today out on the playground with all of the families and volunteers out on the playground right after service. Grab your coffee and fellowship hour, and then head on out to the playground to connect with other families and the volunteers in REE. And as a bonus, there is an incredibly large, grown-up size labyrinth out on the playground this morning. So I really want everybody to go out. There are some deeper instructions for walking that labyrinth. You will enjoy that this morning. And some exciting news from one of our social action partners, Faith in Place, the Illinois and Wisconsin and Indiana, affiliate of, I do not want to lose track of my cards. Faith in Place is sponsoring their annual Environment and Spirituality Summit. It used to be called a Green Team Summit. We've participated in it in years past. This year it's going to be September 22nd through the 24th. And the keynote, it's free, by the way. Registration is available to everybody. Please register. There are links in our realm and on our Facebook page and through Faith in Place. But on the 22nd, Sunday the 22nd, that is in the keynote address by Lama Rod Owens, who is an African-American Buddhist teacher. He will be the keynote this year. There will be a live stream of his keynote, and we will have a watch party with everybody else in the community who are participating in the Faith in Place Summit. That will be at the University YMCA on Sunday the 22nd. The day before that, on September 21st, is of course the Champaign County Pride Fest. We will be marching in the parade. We will have a booth at Pride Fest. And so we invite everybody in this community to please come out and support our LGBTQ neighbors and friends and volunteer with us. Uniting Pride is also still seeking volunteers. And so please look for all the opportunities to engage in community right here in our own backyard. Side note for anyone who has participated in the Pride Parade before, it is a new, shorter route this year and will not be coming down Green Street. I know it's sad, but it is shorter and lovelier, and so it actually gives you more opportunity to engage at the fair itself, downtown Urbana. On October 6th, the annual crop walk is coming up. There is registration details in your email and in Realm. It's a wonderful opportunity to join with people in this community for a worthy cause of combating hunger here in Champaign, in Illinois, and across the globe. You can read details about these and other events in the e-news, as I said. And yes, sorry, I did those out of order of what I wrote on this paper. It's okay, you all didn't need to know that. One of our other practices is our generosity of our sharing our time, our talents, and of course our treasures. Each Sunday we collect an offering in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other. And we share that offering each month with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. This month, in September, our shared offering partner is the NAACP of Champaign County. And today we have the president, Ms. Minnie Perlson, who is going to speak a little of the work that they do. So I want to invite her up. And I'm going to share my mic since the other mic died on us.
Thank you all so much. I have not been here in a long while. I remember the last time I was here, I've been shy all my life, basically. And one of my things that I work at daily And it's strange too, because I taught school for 32 years. And I worked well with young people, but my peers, then I started having these kind of anxiety things. But then I look at you and say, you're just like big kids. So I'm Minnie Pearson. I'm president of the NAACP, and that is no small task because it is a volunteer situation. We do not get paid for what we do, and we do a lot. And I could not do what I do if it was not for the membership. Membership drives the organization. And so, but there are times when things need to be done. And of course, when it doesn't get done, it falls on the leader. So I find myself, and it's a bad habit, I know, staying up past 12 o'clock saying, I've got to get this done. It has got to be done. But it's a good thing I'm retired and people are still working, so I give them a little grace. So I go ahead and do it myself. But they encourage me, they thank me, and I know it's appreciated by the community. So what I want to say this morning with Thanksgiving in my heart, thank you church, for the things that you do that go unnoticed, because I know it's unnoticed because I tell people all the time about how wonderful you are and how generous you are. And the thing I was trying to tell a couple of young people is that when you give back, blessings come. When you give of yourself, it's blessing you as well. And some people want to use excuses. Well, I don't have a lot. Well, I remember growing up when we did not have a lot, and I think we were closer to our neighbor then when we had less, because you could go down the street and borrow a cup of sugar because you didn't have it, or you could go to your neighbor and say this, or you could tell your neighbor, if Minnie Pearl's out there in that yard and she climbed that tree, you make sure you get on her. And I was good for that. The minute my mom got in that pickup truck and headed away, that tree, I got right up there. But we had a neighborhood. We had a village. We had people who looked out after us and who scolded us and whose parents, our parents, would say, did you have any trouble with my children today? And of course they would tell. You know, today they called it snitching. We called it at that particular time helping to raise our children and not getting an attitude when our children needed to be scolded. So again, thank you so much for all you do. We appreciate it, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to good use. So, and it is an honor to stand before you today to celebrate the achievement of the NAACP Champaign County branch. Our local branch has been dedicated to serving the people of Champaign County, promoting civil rights, political empowerment, and educational excellence. And we are big on education. Seriously, no excuses. As I tell teachers, parents, when I meet, if your children are not in school each and every day, ready and prepared to know how to do school, they can't get what they need to get. I try not to be bossy, but I say if you have things that you want to do, getting your haircut, do it on a day when there is no school. Don't do it when school is in session. They need to be in school each day and on time. So, educational excellence is a big thing with me. Through our collective efforts, we continue to make a meaningful impact on our community. One of our most significant accomplishments has been our scholarship program, and I am so proud of that, which provides local high school students, seniors, graduating seniors with the financial support they help to pursue their higher education. We are proud to award scholarships ranging from $1,000 to $2,000 each year to one Urbana student, one Grand Tour student, Central, and Centennial. We do that each year, and we could not do this if it wasn't for generous people like yourselves. I'm telling you, I'm serious. Generous people like you who understand that what you're investing in is community. So we do that for each student. These scholarships help to ensure that there's no financial barriers that do not stand in their way, because we want to give them every opportunity possible. We want to help them to achieve, and we want them to serve as this investment to serve as future mobility for our students. And they serve as an investment in the future of our community as well. In addition to supporting education, our branch has been actively engaged in promoting healthcare awareness and access, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. We were awarded over $400,000, the NAACP, to make sure that everybody in our community at that particular time had all of the resources that they needed in order to stay safe. We had boots on the ground. We had people working, going to every house in every community in Champaign County. In fact, we went to a lot of little surrounding towns that normally, and you all know, and I can be honest, you all know that it's not very welcome to us. We provided sanitizer, gloves, masks, we did grocery shopping, we took care of children's needs, we took care of fathers, and we put them up in hotels for a certain amount of time so they could find shelter. We gave them medicine. We took them to their doctor's appointments and brought them home. We performed boots on the ground going to every community. In fact, this one stuck with me. But I'm the kind of person, I know that I can use every moment, everything that happens to me around me as a teachable moment. I went to this one house, out, way out, and I won't call the name because it's not important. The point I want you to get is this. We went grocery shopping, they get on the computer, they type what they want, and we go and grocery shop and take it to them. I went up to this one house, and the first thing I look for is there's no dogs. You know, I'm just, no dogs, so no dogs. Went and knocked on the door. Little young man came to the door, and he looked at me, and he said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Hi, how are you?" And he says, Mama, there's an N-word out here." And I smiled, and I said to myself, and she came out, and she says, "Boy, didn't I tell you not to say that?" It's a teachable moment. But I hope that she took the opportunity to talk to him and be careful what she say around her children, because you're passing on things. But I left the groceries where she could get them, and I walked away, and I said to myself, wow, God bless him. God bless him. Because sometimes ignorance is the lack of knowledge. It's hard for people to accept what they don't understand. And we need to get to know each other. We need to be sympathetic to people. We need to actually get to know people. Because everybody has goodness inside of them. And that little boy didn't mean any harm. You can't blame him. So we have work to do as communities, as families, as everybody. We have that to do. And so our work in voter registration and political empowerment is another cornerstone of our efforts. We believe that every voice in our community deserves to be heard, and we have worked tirelessly to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to participate in the democratic process. By advocating for voter registration, encouraging civil engagement, we empower our community to shape its own future. Now, because we are nonpartisan, we don't tell you who to vote for. We will never do that. The only thing we do is encourage you to get out and do that. That is your choice. It's your choice to make. The NAACP is my person. We don't take sides. We don't spread hate. We don't do the negative. We don't do that. We want to be a beacon of light for the children who are noticing us that we don't notice every day, or people who don't. Sometimes people watch you and see what you do. And I try really hard, and that's part of my meditation, is when I get up in the morning and I have to run an errand. I always make sure I have enough money in my pocket, not to have to go in my purse, in my pocket. If I see someone in need, I go in and I give it to them. And once I give it to them, it's done. And hopefully they will appreciate it. Even when I go into Taco Bell, and I know you don't, some of you don't like Taco Bell. I go in there, children there, and they never have enough. And they'll say, I need 80 more cents. I say, wait, I got it. I'll get my little thing and give it to them. And they look at me like, that old lady gave me money? Of course I do. I don't think they'll forget it, because I know I did it from the goodness of my heart. So we are doing that. As a volunteer organization, our success is driven by the dedication of individuals who selfishly give their time and energy to our cause. We believe that true progress comes from collaboration, and we work continuously to build bridges between various organizations, including the police department, churches, local government officials, and other community groups. By fostering these relationships, we strive to create a united front that addresses the needs of all residents and promotes justice and equality for all people, not just people of color, not just this, not for all people. You have to do that, because we all are going to exist in this world, and we can move about stress-free as possible. When we build relationships, we understand each other a lot more. My neighbors, people down the street, walking. Now, even though I'm a dog person, but I have not had enough guts to get another one since my dog died, because it was like a person to me. It was very dear to me. Now, I would stop and play with your dog and pet and all that, and I'll even spoil your dog. But I know your dog has to go home. But anyway, by engaging with individuals and treating each other with dignity and respect, it is vital that we work together to create a safer, more inclusive community where every individual is treated with dignity and respect, by engaging with all sectors of our community, and to foster understanding and build trust, create an environment where everyone will thrive. Our work is ongoing, but with your continued support, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, with your continued support, we will be able to continue to do the work that we do. Nothing you can give me or the NAACP, we don't take it for granted. Never. I grew up very poor, and it's hard for me to throw away anything. I'm not a pack rat or anything like that, but I figured somebody can use this, and I fold it very neatly, and I put it in a bag, and I take it to the tune, I take it places, and I'm smiling. Somebody can use this. Yes, ma'am. That's the way I was raised, because I think that is one of the reasons today that I am so blessed, and I'm appreciative. I am very, very grateful to be able to do what I do. We are confident that we can achieve even greater things in the future with people like you. Please don't stop being who you are. Thank you so much for what you do. I have more to say, but I'm obedient. And they told me that I had a certain amount of time to speak, and I'm stopping right now.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pearson, for everything you do and for sharing your stories. Our stories are a blessing, and you blessed us today. And for all of us here in this room, for anybody joining us online, now is the time to give, to practice that spiritual practice of generosity, but also of gratitude. As you give today, I want you to pay attention to what you are grateful for in your life. Just as Ms. Pearson was talking about her own practices of giving as a practice of giving back to all that has helped her become who she is, we do that as well. You can give this morning here in the sanctuary when the basket is passed with a check, with cash. If you give with the check, be sure to indicate in the memo line if you want it going towards the shared offering. Half of what you give today towards the shared offering goes to sustaining the operations of this church, and half is going to go directly to the NAACP of Champaign County. I invite you to give whatever is generous for you, and know that everything you give is gratefully received. As our ushers are coming forward, I do want to introduce our offertory. Some of you are familiar with it, and you may have noticed in your order of service that it says it is John pages 433. And if you are not familiar with this, this is composer John Cage's Ode to Silence. It is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. And silence is also a spiritual practice for us. It makes some of us, though, incredibly uncomfortable. We want to fill it and rush to make something in what feels like nothing, but silence is always full of our breath and our beating hearts. And during this 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I want you to feel what is filling up the silence in this room, in the spaces wherever you are, if you're joining us online. To pay attention to your breath and to contemplate your own gratitude in this time of giving. And thank you, everyone. And now, not in opposition to, but in complementary position to that silence, we'll do our shared joys and sorrows. If you still have a card that you'd like to have shared aloud, please feel free to hand that to someone to bring to me, or you can bring it up to me. We're going to check for those that are also submitted electronically. This is a sorrow from David Gross. David shares that he's not in church today because he can't find the courage to face the malfunctioning elevator. Yesterday evening, he writes, Claudia and I attended a most wonderful dinner and program in Fellowship Hall, but when I attempted to exit the church building and was encased in the elevator, it refused to move. To be trapped in the UC building is terrifying. David, many folks in the room sighed in grief for you, and we hold your sorrow. I trust you are watching online today. And I will share for everyone, without jinxing anything, please, Lord. The ramp will be finished soon. We're waiting on a few more things from the city inspector. And so hopefully this sorrow that David and many others in our community who have not felt safe coming into the building in a long time will soon be able to use that ramp. A joy from Chris Hanauer. A joy from my lovely wife, Jody, Chris writes. This morning, I am very proud, and she knows why. Well, then we will join in pride for Jody as well. A joy from Charles Walworth. I completed my first judo tournament yesterday. I fought 7 matches and won 2. Woohoo! Where are you, Charles? I see you. I had a great time and hope to do better at my next competition, he writes. A joy and concern from Anonymous. My daughter just got out of the hospital after 8 days and started school again on Friday. We are thankful she is home and better, but she is not out of the woods. And a joy from Sam Bashirs, from my brother Neil, who after 6 years in Urbana is on his journey back to his home in France. What? We're so happy for him. A sorrow from Jessica H. I lost my colleague and neighbor to cancer this week. So sorry. And from here in the room, from Claire Douglas. I know better now. I haven't been here since before Christmas due to health issues, and I'm overjoyed because I'm feeling better, and I'm proud and grateful for the food brought to me by the UU folks that kept me alive these long months. Claire, we're so glad you're here. A joy from Linda Owens that, despite a persistent knee injury. Linda was able to ride her bike to church today. That's awesome. And a joy from Julia Cronin, a joy that an old friend who has come to stay with me for a month as she takes time to rest after years of working in conflict zones. For all of these joys and sorrows that we have spoken aloud and all that we are carrying in our hearts, we say thank you. Thank you for practicing generosity in this community in all the ways that we do. Several people earlier mentioned that meditation is one of their spiritual practices, and meditation comes in many forms. It's a way to be present, to be fully mindful. We can sit in silent meditation. We can walk a labyrinth as a form of meditation. We can generously give to a stranger as a form of meditation. Whatever form that takes for us, meditation is an invitation to be mindful, and it is so much harder than it sounds. How many of us already this morning had our minds spinning outwards to the tasks of the day, to the worries and concerns of everything we still need to do? How many people in that 4 minutes and 30 seconds thought this is the longest 4 minutes and 33 seconds of my life? Will it ever end? But being able to center and quiet within ourselves without judging ourselves when our minds do go off on the rabbit trails that they run down. Whether it's listening to a singing bowl, because my mind is always telling me stories. This is one of the things I sometimes use at home to help me come back into this moment. Listen for the tone as a reminder that I am connected through those sound vibrations to everything around me. A few years ago, I made a mindfulness jar. I have a bunch of them. This is the one from my office. I have several at home. And again, when I feel my anxieties ramping up, when I'm worried about everything I need to do, I swirl it up the way my mind and body feel like they're swirling. And I breathe deeply, and I watch it settle. Reminding myself that my body too, my heart, my mind, and my spirit can settle when I give it the space to breathe. When I come back into this moment, which is the only moment any of us ever have. I mentioned I love words. Poetry is my favorite art form since I was really small. But as a challenge to myself to sometimes get away from that practice of relying only on words, I do also love visual art. I am not, I want to be clear, a visual artist. So if any of you make art, wonderful. But if, like me, you want to contemplate it, I want to invite us this morning into a practice that is similar to, are you familiar, anyone in the room, with Lectio Divina? A couple of folks. It's actually a meditative, contemplative practice out of Christianity where you take a small bit of scripture, although you can use anything you want, read it, reflect on it, read it again, reflect more deeply. It's like walking a labyrinth with words. But rather than a Lectio Divina today, we've already had a lot of words. I want to invite us into a Visio Divina, which is a practice I started doing a few years ago just to get my heart and body, my mind and spirit to paying attention more to beauty in all of its forms. We're going to have an image up on the screen. It should also be online for you. Oh, I'm going to move this. And just for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a little Visio Divina contemplative practice. You can do this on your own, with any piece of art, or honestly, any piece of beauty that you encounter. But I'd like everybody in the room and online to just look at it. Just take it in as if it was food you're putting in your mouth that you really love and want to relish. Gaze carefully. You don't have to rush or make any judgments. No intellectual strain. You don't have to wonder what it's about or assign any meaning. Just look at it. Pause and notice line or color or texture that catches your attention. And I want everybody to close their eyes. And just breathe for a moment. Thinking about that image you just saw. What in it caught you, called to you. And when you're ready, I want you to look at the image again. And in this second viewing, contemplate it as if you were chewing your food. This time, maybe think about a deeper meaning that this image, the image itself, the lines, the colors, some texture in it, whatever it is, what is it feeding in you this morning? And gently, just repeat to yourself, silently, a phrase or a word that this image, that element of it, is calling to you this morning. You can notice your thoughts and feelings that arise from that word or phrase. You don't have to pass any judgment on it. You don't have to worry about if it's right or wrong. And when you're ready, I want you to close your eyes again. And then open them and look at the image one more time. Respond to the aspect of the art that engaged your attention. Is it making you uncomfortable? Does it remind you of a long-lost memory? What do you need from the God of your understanding? What might others need in this moment? This moment where something in this image is speaking to you. Now simply digest the sweetness of the moment, of the color, the texture, the image itself, and let yourself rest in the loving arms of the Spirit, your own breath, the Spirit of the divine, of your understanding, that lets you perceive and pay attention, that lets you find beauty in the world and in yourself. What message are you receiving today that your spirit needs? As you contemplate that, I want to invite us into singing the loving kindness meditation. Some of you are familiar with the metta, the Buddhist metta, the loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I be well, is one interpretation of it. Number 1031 in our hymnal says, may I be filled with loving kindness. And then we'll sing, may you be filled. And then as a final community prayer, we'll sing together, may we be filled. mentioned earlier that tarot cards are a spiritual practice of mine, and part of it is because tarot speaks to all those different parts of me that I want to integrate into wholeness. It's an intellectual exercise to study the history of the cards, to read and look at the meanings that people have interpreted over the years. I enjoy that kind of intellectual exercise, the history, the language and words of it. The tarot is also an embodied exercise. It invites me into touching the cards, into seeing the images, looking at the beauty and the discomfort there, to hearing the cards as I move them and shuffle them. It's also an emotional experience in doing that intellectual work, that physical work. The tarot also then helps me to pay attention to the present moment. It's why it's a meditative content. It's a practice for me to say, what in this moment is my body and spirit longing for? It becomes an integrative way for me to remember I am not just my head, not just my body. My emotions don't have to drive me. I can drive them. And in that way, my spirit is nurtured and comes to settle and be ready for a day. Out in Fellowship Hall, at the table in the far by the windows, I brought several tarot decks for folks to look at today. I also brought some wisdom cards, if tarot isn't your thing, but you want to be able to look at different kinds of images. I brought some coloring books and put out some coloring pencils if you want to engage in some guided art making. There's books of poetry and books of prayers. There's the giant labyrinth out on the lawn I invite you to go to. Whatever you want to do today to play as this service ends, I want you to engage in it. Whatever you do to tend to your spirits every day, I want you to do that. Because there is so much pulling at our attention all the time. Our endless to-do lists, the chores, the bills that need to be paid, the work we have to go to get the money to pay those bills, the family that needs our care, our own bodies that need to be tended to. And when we add on the wider world and the concerns and fears of this growing election, of the threat of white Christian nationalism here in America, it can be terrifying because those fears are real, they are substantial, and they are heavy, and they pull at our attention, they demand and need our attention, but those fears don't feed our souls. So what will we do today to feed our souls? The Irish playwright and poet Oscar Wilde once wrote, "We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars." We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. And for me, dear ones, spiritual practices are the way that help us individually and collectively to remember that the conditions of the world, no matter how awful or wonderful they are, do not define us. The stars still shine. Our breath is still divine. Life matters. So think about what you can and will and do to connect to your own soul and to each other, to the broader work of making a community, as Ms. Pearson said earlier, thrive. This is your invitation to answer the longing of your own heart. It is an open invitation. It is an invitation that will ever be open here in this spiritual community to come, whoever you are, with intention. Bring your intention and have it received and given back in love. Before we extinguish our flames today, I just want to remind you that we together remake the world by remaking each other, by remaking ourselves. The flame here is alive in all of us. And so we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts till we are together again. Go in blessing. Go in play.